Airports have a certain magic about them. People reunite, hearts find home, and new beginnings unfold under the hum of departing flights. But for Edeora, that night, the airport felt more like a holding cell for hope slowly dying. She stood by the arrival gate of the Murtala Muhammad International Airport, hands slightly trembling as she gripped a bouquet of red roses, his favorite. Her heart beat like a frantic drum as each passenger stepped out. She checked her phone again, 11:42 p.m. The flight from London had landed 30 minutes ago. Her fiancé, Tond, should be here by now. They had met 2 years earlier through a mutual friend. Tond was studying in the UK, and though their relationship had been mostly virtual, the emotional bond they shared felt tangible. He had proposed on a video call 6 months ago, promising to return to Nigeria permanently so they could begin their lives together. The wedding was already set for the following weekend. She had spent the last week making plans, rehearsing her new signature as Mrs. Ajayi. Passengers continued to stream out, dragging their luggage, scanning for relatives, lovers, friends. None of them was Tond. Midnight. Still, she waited. She sent him another message. "Hey love, are you okay? I'm at the gate." Delivered. But not read. Edeora paced. Her sister, Amoka, had insisted on coming along, but she had told her no. She wanted this moment to be just hers and Tond's. After all, it would be their first hug, their first kiss. She had imagined the scene so many times, she could practically smell the cologne she'd gifted him for his birthday last year. At 1:07 a.m., a tall man in a charcoal suit and a tired expression walked toward her. She squinted, her breath catching. Was it him? The figure drew closer. Her heart stuttered. But this man wasn't Tond. He stopped right in front of her. "Are you Edeora?" he asked, voice low and heavy. "Yes," she responded, confused, eyes scanning him for familiarity. There was none. He sighed, eyes flickering with what looked like guilt. "Tond couldn't make it. He sent me." Edeora stared at the man, trying to comprehend his words. "What do you mean he sent you? Who are you?" I'm Femi. His friend. "I flew in because he thought you deserved the truth in person." Something cold began to spread in her chest. The bouquet in her hand suddenly felt heavy, like a burden. "Truth about what?" she whispered. Femi's voice cracked. "Tond's not coming back. He's married. Has been, for over a year now. In the UK." A stillness gripped her. The kind of stillness that comes before a storm or a scream. "But we've been planning a wedding, our wedding." Femi looked away. "He said he never had the courage to tell you. He thought he'd eventually come clean. But time passed and, well." Tears welled up, not just from heartbreak, but humiliation, betrayal, and disbelief. The night had started with dreams of a lifelong union. But now, in the sterile brightness of the arrival's hall, her fairy tale had shattered. And she hadn't even seen it coming. For several minutes, Edeora couldn't speak. Her throat felt tight, like someone had closed a fist around her voice. All she could do was stare at Femi, who looked more like a messenger of doom than the groom she had dreamt of. The airport, once filled with anticipation, now felt like a cruel joke. A stage on which she had unknowingly played the fool. "I don't believe you," she said finally, her voice thin. "There must be a mistake." Femi didn't respond immediately. He reached into his leather shoulder bag and pulled out an envelope. "He asked me to give you this. It's everything." With trembling fingers, she opened it. Inside was a handwritten letter. The moment she saw Tond's slanted handwriting, tears blurred her vision. "Edeora, I am sorry. I never intended to hurt you. What we had was real, at least, it was for me for a time. But I made a mistake. I got married last year during a low moment and I didn't know how to tell you afterward. I kept pushing the truth away, hoping I'd figure out what to do. But I never did. You deserve better than a man who can't be honest. That's why Femi is here. To tell you what I didn't have the courage to. Please forgive me. Turned. She read the words again, willing them to change, to make sense. But they didn't. I gave up so much for him, she whispered. I said no to better men, cancelled job offers just to be free for the wedding. I told everyone he was my future. Femi looked uncomfortable but didn't interrupt. She could feel the pity radiating from him, and it stung more than the truth. She sat down on a cold bench nearby, burying her face in her hands. How could he lead me on like this? Every video call, every plan. Even my wedding dress is hanging in my room. Her voice cracked as she spoke, the emotions finally bubbling over. A security guard glanced their way but said nothing. Femi sighed, stepping closer. I know I'm the last person you want to hear this from, but you deserve to know the truth in person. He wanted to come himself, but his wife just gave birth last week. Edeora let out a bitter laugh. Of course she did. Congratulations to them. The words felt like ash in her mouth. Femi crouched beside her. You're angry. Should be. But maybe it's better this happened now than after vows were exchanged. She looked at him, mascara streaked, heart hollow. Better, she said softly. He didn't just break my heart, he stole years of my life. My trust. My belief in love. She stood slowly, head high despite the tears. But he won't get the rest of it. He doesn't get that power. Femi nodded silently. Together, they walked toward the exit, the sun beginning to rise outside the terminal glass. The airport doors slid open with a hiss, ushering her into a new reality. One where she would have to start over. Alone. The morning sun spilled across the Lagos skyline as Edeora stepped into the soft orange light. The world outside was awake now, buses honking, hawkers shouting, people moving with purpose. And yet, inside her, everything felt still. Quiet. Numb. She hadn't said much to Femi during the ride. He had offered to take her home, but she declined. Instead, she asked to be dropped off at Freedom Park. Somewhere open, away from sympathetic eyes and walls heavy with memories. As she sat on a weather-worn bench under a jacaranda tree, the petals around her like fallen dreams, her phone buzzed again. A message from Amoka. How did it go? Did he propose again? Smiling face with heart eyes. Edeora stared at the message for a long time. A part of her wanted to lie. To say everything was perfect, that her dreams had come true. But she couldn't. Not anymore. She replied simply. Call you later. It's over. She put the phone away, closed her eyes, and let herself breathe. Really breathe. Images flashed through her mind, Ton's smiling face on her screen, his playful promises, the midnight talks about their imagined kids. All of it, a carefully constructed illusion. A love that never truly belonged to her. But beneath the pain, something new stirred, the quiet strength. For the first time in a long while, she allowed herself to reflect on the red flags she had pushed aside. The unreturned calls. The vague excuses. The "I'll explain later" messages that never came. She had romanticized him, painted over the cracks, and called it devotion. And yet, in losing him, she was slowly finding herself. By midday, she was back home. The dress hung on the wall, still wrapped in its protective plastic. She stared at it for a long time, then carefully took it down. Not with rage, but with resolve. Edeora carried it outside and gave it to the old tailor who lived next door. You can reuse the fabric, she said. Make something beautiful for someone who really needs it. That night, she sat at her desk with a pen and notebook. She began writing everything. From the first message Ton had sent, to the moment Femi walked toward her at the airport. It poured out like a flood, raw and painful. But also healing. In the weeks that followed, she shared her story on a women's forum. Then on a podcast. Then at a local relationship summit. Her pain had a purpose now, not to haunt her, but to warn others, to remind them that self-love is not negotiable. And turned. He reached out once more, an apologetic voice note she never opened. She deleted it. She didn't need closure from him. She had found it in herself. Love built on lies is a house without a foundation, it will always crumble. Adeora's story is a reminder that sometimes, the greatest strength lies not in holding on, but in letting go. In trusting your instincts. In knowing that being alone is better than being with someone who doesn't see your worth. If you've ever waited for someone who never showed up, or